Hello, dear students. Hope all of you are fine. Today, I will be discussing a very important topic of chapter number 2, that is structure of atom. And the topic that I will discuss with you is Bohr's model for hydrogen atom. Okay, today I will discuss Bohr's model for hydrogen atom. Bohr postulated a model for hydrogen atom and hydrogen like one electron or one nucleus species. He applied quantization to the angular momentum to an electron bound to the nucleus. Now what does this means is that Bohr's model is applicable for hydrogen atom and only hydrogen like single electron species. Okay. Now see, if I talk about some atoms like helium, helium, the atomic number is 2, then Bohr's model is not applicable on it, but it will be applicable on He plus. Okay. Now if I talk about lithium, whose atomic number is 3, again the Bohr's model will not be applicable on this, but will be applicable on Li plus plus. Okay. Because when it becomes Li plus plus, 2 electrons will be removed and it will have only 1 electron. Similarly, if I talk about beryllium, whose atomic number is 4, then Bohr's model is not applicable on it. Okay. But if I remove electrons and Be changes to Be plus 3, then the Bohr's model is applicable on it. So I hope it is clear to all of you that Bohr's model is applicable on hydrogen and hydrogen like species. Fine. So let's move into the postulates of Bohr's model. Okay. The points on which the theory is based is known as postulates. So I will be discussing with you the postulates of Bohr's model. There are mainly 4 postulates of Bohr's model that I will discuss with you all. The first postulate is written on the screen, as it is saying that, see, the electron in the hydrogen atom can move around the nucleus in a circular path of fixed radius and energy. Okay. Now this is in continuation with Rutherford model. It was Rutherford who used the term nucleus. Rutherford said that an atom has a nucleus. Okay. Rutherford said that an atom has a nucleus which is its center. Okay. Now moving further, the electron in an hydrogen atom moves around this nucleus in circular path of fixed radius and energy. Here comes the difference between Rutherford model and the Bohr model, and that is why the Rutherford model was discarded, but this model, it was used more specifically that this is a nucleus, then the electrons will move around the nucleus in fixed radius and energy. Okay, these paths are called orbits, stationary states, or allowed energy states. Okay, this is what was the difference between Bohr's model and Rutherford model. Rutherford just simply said that electrons move around the nucleus, but what did Bohr tell? Bohr told that the electrons move around the nucleus only in fixed orbits. Okay, and he named these as orbits or stationary states. And he also said that these orbits are arranged concentrically around the nucleus. Okay, these orbits are arranged concentrically around the nucleus. So we can see it as, if this is the center of the atom, which is called nucleus, here are different sets of orbits on which the electron can be found. See, this is the electron. It can be here, it can be here, it can be here, but it will not be present in between spaces. Fine. Now see, the stationary states for electrons are numbered n. This n stands for principal quantum numbers, which we will study further. Right now, you should know that the numbering of these orbits starts from 1, 2, 3. Okay, the closest orbit, this one, the orbit closest to the nucleus is known as 1. This one, the next one will be known as 2. Then the next one will be known as 3. And then moving on 4, 5 and 6. Okay, now see one more thing. I hope this point is very clear to you. Okay, now see the numbering. See, I have told you the orbits are numbered as n is equal to 1, 2, 3. And I have also told you, see, if this is the nucleus, the nearest one orbit, this orbit will be known as 1. Okay. Now, you might have also read about K, L, M, N in your 10th standard. Now, what are these? These are known as shell. Okay. There is no such difference between K, L, M, N and 1, 2, 3. Here, 1 will be equivalent to K, 2 will be equivalent to L, 3 will be equivalent to M. What we can say that if we use the numbering 1, 2, 3, these are known as orbits. Okay. And if we use the notation K, L, M, N, then these will be known as shell. Fine. So first postulate is clear to all of you. Now let's move on to next postulates. The second postulate. This is the second postulate of Bohr's theory. The energy of an electron in the orbit does not change with the time. Very important. The energy of an electron in an orbit does not change with time. This is what Bohr said. Because if we follow the Rutherford theory, then what we have seen that the drawback was that as the electron moves around the nucleus continuously, it will be losing its energy and finally collapse into the nucleus. This you have studied in your 10th also. But what Bohr told that the energy of electron in the orbit does not change with time. However, the electron will move from a lower stationary state to a higher stationary state when required amount of energy is absorbed, and energy is emitted when an electron moves from higher stationary state to lower stationary state. The energy change does not take place in a continuous manner. Okay. Now, in order to explain these points, see, we can see again that suppose this is the nucleus. This is the nucleus, the center. Okay. And these are the different orbits around the nucleus. Fine. And as I have told you, this is orbit number 1, then this is 2, this is 3, and these will go on as further. Now, according to the second postulate, the energy of an electron in a particular orbit does not change with the time. It means the electron will neither gain nor lose energy when it is in a particular orbit. Okay. Suppose if an electron is here, then it will neither gain nor lose the energy. Now, if we go into the next point of the second postulate, then it is written that if we add energy to the electron or energy is absorbed by the electron, then it will move from a lower stationary state to higher stationary state. Okay, you must remember this also. This is the this one which is known as n is equal to 1 is considered as lower stationary state. Okay, you should remember that n is equal to 1, which is closest to the nucleus, is the lowest energy state, and it is known as ground state. You need to remember that this is known as the ground state and it is the lowest energy state. Now if an electron is here in n is equal to 1, when the electron is in ground state, then it can absorb an adequate amount of energy and jump into higher orbits. It means it can jump from 1 to 2, 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 depending upon the amount of energy absorbed. This is known as excitation of electron. Okay, this is known as excitation of electron. Fine. Excitation. And when will this happen? When electron will absorb energy. Now, contrary to this, an electron can emit energy and move from a higher stationary state to lower stationary state. So what will happen in this case? If we have an electron somewhere here, then it will lose its energy and move to some lower energy state. It means this is 1, this is 2 and this is 3rd. So electron will release energy and move from 3 to 2. Okay, it can even go from 3 to 1 and it can also go from 2 to 1. This is known as de-excitation of electron. Okay, so I hope it is clear to you that what I have discussed with you, that n is equal to 1 is known as ground state. And if an electron is present in ground state, then it can absorb energy and there will be excitation of the electron and it will move to any higher orbit. It means it can move from 1 to 2, 2 to 3 or 1 to 3. Fine. And if it is already in some higher state, suppose number 3 or number 4, then it can emit energy and which will be known as de-excitation of electron and move to some lower energy state like 3 to 2 or 4 to 2. Fine. So this was the second postulate. Now let's move on to third postulate. This is the third postulate, which is the frequency of radiation absorbed or emitted when transition occurs between two stationary states that differ in energy. Delta E is given by nu is equal to delta E by H. Okay, this expression is known as Bohr's frequency rule. This formula was given which says that the frequency of the radiation absorbed or emitted, in both the cases, nu is equal to delta E by H. Here delta E is equal to E2 minus E1. Fine. Where E1 and E2 are the energies of lower and higher allowed energy states respectively, and H is Planck's constant. Fine. So this was the third postulate of Bohr's atomic model. Now let's move on to the last and the most important postulate of Bohr's model. This is the fourth postulate. Okay. Fourth postulate. Now see, it is written that the angular momentum of an electron in a given stationary state can be expressed as an equation. This equation is given, okay. MVR, here ME stands for mass of electron. MVR is equal to NH upon 2 pi, where N can be 1, 2, 3. First of all, this is known as Bohr's quantization condition. You need to remember this as Bohr's quantization condition. Now I will explain you this point in detail. Fine. See, according to the last postulate, here I am talking about the last postulate of Bohr's model, fourth point, that an electron can move only in those orbits which have its angular momentum as integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. Now what is angular momentum? See, all of you must have studied about momentum. Now the term angular momentum is used whenever a particle moves in a circular path. Here what is there? This is the nucleus and the electron is moving in circular path in an orbit. See, if this is an electron and it is moving with the velocity v, and let the radius be denoted by r. Now angular momentum is represented by L and it is equal to r into p. Now first of all, these are all vector quantities that you have studied in physics, and p is known as momentum, and you also know that p is equal to m into v. Okay. Now see, since it is the cross product, you have studied in physics that you will take it as sine theta. So this can be written as r m v sine theta. Now if you see here, theta is equal to 90 degree and sine theta is equal to 1. So what will come finally? L is equal to r m v. Okay, this will come as RMV. So if you are not able to understand all these things, then also it is not a problem. You just need to remember that this angular momentum should be an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. And this condition is known as Bohr's quantization condition. So finally, the fourth postulate, what you need to remember is that an electron can move only in those orbits. An electron can move only in those orbits whose angular momentum. So we have right now derived that angular momentum L is equal to RMV is an integral multiple of NH upon 2 pi. So integral multiple means n can have values is equal to 1, 2 and 3. Okay, it will not have a value in fraction or 1.5 and all that. Those orbits are not allowed, or those stationary states are not allowed. I hope the point is clear to you. Fine. So these were the most important 4 postulates of Bohr's atomic model. Okay, the last postulate is very important, again I am saying, and it will be used in your numerical portion, which is MVR is equal to NH upon 2 pi. Now here M is mass of electron, v is the velocity of electron, r is the radius, okay, n is the shell number, and h is Planck's constant, whose value is 6.636 into 10 raised to power minus 34 joule second. Okay. Now this is one formula that you will be using in your numerical, and there is one more formula that you will be using in your numerical, which is known as radius of the shell. Okay, it will be asked radius, how to calculate the radius of a particular shell. Okay, now the formula for this is Rn. N is the number of the shell, is equal to 0.529 n square upon z, and this will be in angstrom. Okay, r is the radius of the nth shell, which is equal to 0.529 n. Again, n is the shell number and z is the atomic number, and the value will come in angstrom. Fine. I hope the topic is clear to you about the Bohr's atomic model for hydrogen and hydrogen-like species. Thank you.